Blake Lively is finally set to be deposed by Brian Friedman, Justin Baldoni's attorney, next week. This is important because she's done everything in her power to try to avoid this and mislead both the judge and the public. And now reports are coming in that her own husband, Ryan Reynolds, has been banned from the deposition.
Oh, the hypocrisy and misplaced outrage swirling online these days. You almost have to laugh. Blake Lively, Hollywood's picture-perfect golden girl, wants the world to believe she's drowning in misogyny, a damsel under siege by faceless trolls and basement-dwelling woman haters. But scratch the glossy Instagram filter and the truth is impossible to ignore. It's not sexism taking her down, it's Blake herself. It's her desperate, sloppy attempt to strong-arm critics and silence voices she can't control, all while playing the misunderstood victim in front of her carefully curated fanbase. This is the same Blake who's spent years building her brand like a Pinterest board come to life. The matching family outfits on holiday strolls, the hand-picked candid paparazzi shots, the sassy, just like you captions that feel anything but real. Every image, every caption, every PR puff piece was polished within an inch of its life. And it worked until it didn't. Because when the spotlight turned away from her carefully staged selfies and landed on her real behind-the-scenes antics, that perfect image crumbled faster than a stale tabloid headline.
That we need more of this, we need more time, these people haven't done what they're supposed to do. It's a lot. Interestingly enough, though, there is one thing here that really caught my attention. I was like reading a document and I was like, Vin Diesel? So now Blake Lively's team is bringing Vin Diesel into this.
And if you think she's steering this ship alone, think again. Behind the scenes lurks Ryan Reynolds, the internet's self-crowned king of snarky Deadpool one-liners and cringe gin ads no one actually buys for the taste. The man who's made a fortune pretending to be the lovable everyman has been quietly pulling the strings like a second-rate Hollywood puppeteer, storyboarding hit pieces, feeding gossip sites, and turning subpoenas into a bizarre PR weapon. While Blake parades the victim card, Ryan's behind the curtain, rewriting reality like it's just another forgettable Netflix script. Together, they've turned a mild internet critique that maybe, just maybe, they're not as charming as they pretend to be, into a scorched earth crusade to muzzle anyone who says otherwise. But instead of silencing their critics, they've only exposed themselves. Every frantic headline, every smug lawyer letter, every pitiful attempt to guilt-trip the internet into submission just peels back another layer of their carefully manufactured myth. In the end, it's not some grand sexist plot threatening Blake Lively's reputation. It's the truth. The ugly, unfiltered reality that no glossy Instagram filter can hide forever. And no matter how many stale punchlines Ryan scribbles on a cocktail napkin, no matter how many subpoenas they fling like confetti at YouTubers and gossip bloggers, they can't stop the world from seeing the meltdown for exactly what it is. Two Hollywood egos who finally ran out of places to hide. The absurdity reached peak farce when Blake's lawyers, apparently more interested in scoring headlines than winning any actual case, leaked subpoenas to TMZ before they'd even been properly served to the people named in them.
All right, even this last bit, I think it's more news, the fact that she thinks she could bring Ryan to her deposition. I mean, technically, I guess she could, but the fact that that was even an option is hard for me to believe. Reports are coming in saying, no, he's not going to be allowed because he'd be a distraction. Also, we got to go through these reports that are coming in and what Lively's alleged, which is completely improper.
It was a stunt so transparent you could practically see the desperation oozing through the press release. Paint Blake as the innocent damsel besieged by a monstrous, shadowy conspiracy, and hope the tabloids would run interference. And of course, TMZ played along, breathlessly pushing the narrative that Blake was the victim here, that some vast underground network of internet trolls and commentators was out to ruin her perfect Pinterest board life. But the plot twist? The plan didn't intimidate a soul. It blew up in spectacular fashion. Candace Owens, one of the so-called conspirators, didn't cower behind a lawyer. She went live, subpoena in hand, receipts stacked, cackling at the notion that a stray heart eyes emoji she'd posted years ago or a single offhand joke was now being spun as evidence of a multi-year smear campaign. Instead of quashing the chatter, Blake's paranoia just blew the gates wide open. What began as a glossy legal flex turned into a bloated fiasco that dragged in everyone from YouTubers dissecting her marriage to random Reddit users who posted spicy threads to clueless Twitter randos who cracked jokes about her hair products. Because in Blake's world, Even an innocent quip about shampoo is apparently part of an orchestrated plot to dismantle her perfect empire. The subpoenas were supposed to silence the noise. Instead, they amplified it 1,000-fold, proving to the world that the only real conspiracy was Blake's attempt to bully the internet into playing nice. And the internet, predictably, laughed in her face. Ryan Reynolds, the man whose public persona has long been crafted as the affable, witty, down-to-earth, internet's funny everyman.
Us getting mentioned yet again through our own subpoena. Let's rewind and go through the updates of the Blake Lively case. Yes, she is set to be deposed next week. So it's been revealed that she will be deposed next Thursday, the 17th. In a new court filing, that's the date that's been planned.
Has been operating far from the spotlight of his carefully maintained image. Behind the scenes, he's been orchestrating a ruthless PR campaign, wielding the power of celebrity gossip outlets and tabloid media like weapons to shield Blake Lively's increasingly fragile ego and public reputation. This is the same man who built an empire on Deadpool's irreverent humor and charm, projecting an everyman persona that millions adored and related to. Yet now, he's taken a sharp detour into the murky world of celebrity legal warfare and media manipulation, abandoning his signature self-deprecation for a cold, calculated strategy of intimidation and control. Instead of standing openly with Blake to face the fallout from the disastrous It Ends With Us production and the ensuing backlash, Ryan has preferred to stay in the shadows, letting TMZ and a network of gossip rags leak selectively curated subpoenas, carefully crafted narratives, and half-truths. These leaks weren't random. They were tactical strikes meant to frame Blake as a victim of a vast and malicious smear campaign, a narrative carefully fed to sympathetic outlets hoping to sway public opinion. The goal was to drown out genuine criticism by drowning it in noise, threats, legal pressure, and media spin. But the universe had other plans. This fragile charade quickly crumbled under the weight of its own desperation and mismanagement. Every frantic headline, every sweeping subpoena targeting YouTubers, Reddit personalities, random Twitter accounts, and even seemingly innocuous jokes about Blake's hair care routines only peeled back more layers of the farce.
Brian Friedman, Baldoni's attorney, has said he wants to see how consistent her testimony is with the actual facts. Now, Lively's lawyer, Mike Gottlieb, the same one who served me, by the way, previously said, of course, Lively will testify in the trial, stated for next year's March 2026. Now, the date has been revealed as the discovery process continues, and Lively's lawyers served subpoenas to two publicists connecting to Baldoni.
These subpoenas weren't about justice or truth. They were about intimidation, a desperate, scattershot attempt to silence dissent and control a narrative that was rapidly spinning out of control. Meanwhile, the financial cost of this charade was staggering. The couple, or more specifically, their combined PR and legal war machine, has reportedly burned through more than $40 million. But this wasn't money spent on building a solid legal defense or gathering irrefutable evidence to back their claims. No, it was money funneled into a vast infrastructure of image scrubbing services, hush money to key players, paid media placements masquerading as genuine coverage, crisis consultants spinning damage control, and an army of social media operatives flooding timelines with scripted positivity and diversion tactics. Despite all this, the effort has proven to be futile, as the campaign to salvage Blake's public image and suppress the truth has backfired spectacularly. In fact, the legal and PR blitz only hastened the collapse, much like Blake's infamous on-set rewrites of It Ends With Us, which industry insiders say were a chaotic, unauthorized attempt to control a production spiraling out of control. The irony couldn't be thicker. For all the strategic planning, tens of millions of dollars spent, and high-profile media manipulation, the story leaked out faster than any narrative they tried to impose. Ryan Reynolds' once celebrated brand of humor and relatability is now overshadowed by whispers of behind-the-scenes arrogance, manipulation, and control-freak tactics.
Who are not parties in the legal battle. She also went to many third parties, including myself. But the publicist's attorney filed a motion for extension asking for an extra week to produce documents. One email sent on July 2nd that is exhibited to the filing that Lively's depo is set for July 17th. Reps for Lively didn't respond to Peoples' request for confirmation of the date. Peoples also out to Baldoni's rep.
The carefully curated image of the charming, self-deprecating movie star has given way to a more sinister portrait of a man weaponizing celebrity gossip outlets, legal maneuvers, and media influence to protect not just his wife's image, but their joint empire. And the world has taken notice. The more they try to silence the critics, the louder those critics become, posting receipts, exposing emails, and unveiling the chaos behind the polished PR curtain. Ultimately, what was meant to be a shield, the media manipulation, the legal subpoenas, the hush money, has turned into the couple's Achilles heel. Rather than containing the damage, it has amplified it, leaving Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively scrambling to patch holes in a sinking ship. And while Ryan continues to joke on Instagram and promote his latest gin brand with that trademark grin, the real story playing out behind closed doors is anything but funny. The public's fascination isn't with his deadpan one-liners anymore. It's with the unraveling saga of two Hollywood icons whose attempts at damage control have only exposed the rot underneath. Blake Lively's carefully constructed America's sweetheart image, the polished, charming, and effortlessly relatable Hollywood darling, began to crumble from within the very walls of the It Ends With Us production. According to multiple insiders who were close to the set and involved in the film's creation, Blake's behavior went far beyond the usual star ego. Sources describe a chaotic environment where Blake effectively hijacked the entire production process, wielding her influence not as a collaborative lead actress, but as a self-appointed auteur who treated the project like her personal playground.
The Agency Group PR LLC and Jennifer Abel, collectively the Wayfarer parties, we write to advise the court of an issue that the Wayfarer parties wish to address at the upcoming conference on Monday, February 3rd, 2025.
Rather than working with the director, writers, and crew as partners in storytelling, she allegedly imposed her own vision by rewriting scenes unilaterally, often without consulting key collaborators or respecting the original script's integrity. These rewrites weren't minor tweaks. They were major overhauls that disrupted shooting schedules, forced reshoots, and frustrated the creative team. Blake's insistence on controlling every detail, from dialogue changes to character motivations, created a tense atmosphere on set, where crew members felt steamrolled and sidelined. This wasn't just diva behavior. It was a hostile takeover of a collective creative endeavor, one that left many questioning whether Blake was genuinely interested in the story or simply using the project as a platform for personal expression and control. The ripple effects of this behavior extended well beyond the immediate set. Stylists who worked with her described her as notoriously difficult, obsessed with her image to the point of disregarding others' input. Makeup artists, costume designers, and hair professionals reportedly endured endless last-minute demands and mood swings that made their jobs unnecessarily stressful. Even the usual behind-the-scenes camaraderie of a film set gave way to strained relationships and whispered frustrations. What makes this even more remarkable is the reaction from industry heavyweights, particularly those at Sony Pictures, the studio backing It Ends With Us. Sony, known for managing high-profile stars and temperamental talent on a daily basis, rarely air grievances publicly. Yet insiders reveal that some Sony executives and studio representatives openly called Blake and Ryan Reynolds horrible to work with.
He and 9 other plaintiffs, including his publicists, have brought a $250 million lawsuit against the New York Times, essentially alleging them of libel and false light invasion of privacy.
In the ruthless world of Hollywood, where diva behavior is almost expected and often tolerated for box office draw, this candid assessment speaks volumes about the severity of the dysfunction. Sony's bluntness is significant because the studio regularly collaborates with some of the most challenging stars and directors in the business. For them to break protocol and voice such criticism indicates that the problems with Blake and Ryan weren't isolated incidents, but systemic issues that jeopardized the project's success. Yet, despite this internal upheaval and reputational damage, Blake and Ryan have doubled down on playing the victim card, weaving a narrative of being persecuted by a sexist conspiracy rather than owning their own responsibility in the turmoil. This deflection not only strains credulity, but also amplifies the sense that the whole scandal is less about gender politics and more about two immensely powerful Hollywood egos exposed by their own recklessness and entitlement. Instead of engaging constructively with the criticisms and fallout, Blake and Ryan have chosen to wage a media and legal war to silence dissent, turning what could have been a manageable PR hiccup into a sprawling, public spectacle that has further tarnished their images. In short, the myth of Blake Lively as the sweet, down-to-earth starlet is thoroughly shattered behind closed doors. What remains is a portrait of a woman who commandeered a major film production to suit her personal whims, steamrolling collaborators and causing friction at every level, while Ryan Reynolds, far from being the supportive partner he portrays, has been complicit in escalating the crisis into a headline-grabbing, lawsuit-fueled meltdown.
As we all know, the accusations and the trial set for March, Lively's lawyer told People back in May, the ultimate moment for a plaintiff's story to be told is at trial.
Their combined actions reveal not victims, but two celebrity powerhouses desperately trying to control a narrative rapidly spinning beyond their grasp. And the real-world fallout is darker than petty gossip. Steve Sawitz, once a quiet billionaire philanthropist who donated millions through his Wayfarer Foundation, got dragged into Blake's meltdown for no reason other than being a convenient scapegoat. This is a man who gave away over $160 million of his own fortune, lived modestly, and funded hundreds of charities, and now his entire operation is in shambles because Blake couldn't stand being called unlikable. The dominoes fell so far that his family was threatened with extortion tied directly to her lawsuit. A man's child was threatened. A foundation that supported women's shelters and minority education was gutted, all because a celebrity couldn't handle bad press. And yet the hits keep coming. The legal backbone of Blake's entire claim now teeters on a single glaring mistake. Her team relied on phone data handed over before they even had a subpoena, a move that could render the whole case invalid if the court rules it was obtained illegally. If that happens, every accusation built on that data vanishes. So does Blake's last line of defense. And then there's the New York Times, that bastion of integrity that shredded her image back when it suited them, only to run a pitiful op-ed months later claiming anyone criticizing Blake was part of a misogynistic mob.
Expect that to be the case here with Lively, so we would of course expect her to be a witness at her trial. Of course she's going to testify. Now, Brian Friedman has previously spoken about his plans for deposing Lively as they attempt to refute her allegations.
The same paper that gleefully mocked her Betty Boo's fiasco and botched movie rewrites now wants to shield her with feminist buzzwords. It's not working. Reddit threads, YouTube exposés, leaked emails, crew testimonies. The receipts were there long before a single lawsuit was filed. Fans had her number years ago. Rude to fans, smug in interviews, robotic banter with Ryan that felt more like PR than love. Instead of facing that truth, Blake did what control freak celebrities do when the mask slips. She blamed everyone else, then weaponized the courts and her husband's PR machine to force the world to love her again. It's failing spectacularly. Now she's fighting her own crisis manager in court, her publicist is demanding reimbursement, and the very industry insiders she needs are quietly, and not so quietly, rooting for her downfall. Meanwhile, Ryan, your favorite Deadpool, has been treating the whole meltdown like a Netflix thriller, storyboarding smear campaigns, leaking subpoenas, and spinning tabloid headlines. But nobody's watching this one, Ryan. Nobody's buying the performance. The subpoenas to creators like Andy Sr. and Perez Hilton weren't about real legal claims. They were PR intimidation, a transparent stunt to silence critics. And each time they try to shut people up, 5 more step forward with fresh receipts.
And he told TMZ on June 10th that he was planning to do it. Asked for his strategy, he said, I'm going to ask her questions on her penalty of perjury. She's going to have to provide evidence, and she's going to have to provide the truth of the stories. We all have the videotape, all the footage. We have, the text messages, we have the emails.
And just when you think they've dragged enough people into this farce, here come more casualties. Blake turned on Jed Wallace, her own crisis manager, demanding his entire client list, a reckless move that violates NDAs and risks the careers of dozens of other high-profile figures. She's burning bridges faster than her team can build them, and the people who actually know how to control narratives, they don't forgive easily. All this chaos, all this scorched earth, all this performative victimhood. And for what? Because a few people said she wasn't likable. Not abusive. Not criminal. Just unlikable. The same woman who built her image on authenticity and girl next door charm couldn't stomach being exposed as just another controlling Hollywood egotist. Now she's days away from a deposition. No glam squad. No Ryan writing punchlines. Just Blake, her lawyers, and a pile of inconvenient questions under oath. So no, this isn't misogyny. It's not trolls or haters or some grand conspiracy. It's a reckoning. And as this PR house of cards keeps collapsing in real time, with the whole world watching, Blake's not just losing a lawsuit. She's losing the carefully polished lie that made her a brand. The damage is all self-inflicted, and no glossy Instagram filter, cutesy couple banter, or $40 million PR band-aid can fix what's already rotten at the core. The mask is off, the receipts are endless, and the truth, finally, is louder than the spin.